Each speaker will have 10 minutes. You have agenda. So the first was Catalina, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Baritses. Good afternoon. So I think the hospitality industry and aviation, they got the biggest hit in this period, especially for hotels in Yerevan. Most of them are closed. We are only few as Hyatt, Ramada open, but not for, we are open for the public and as well for the quarantine period. We have separate building for it, but in general, if I'm taking out the people who are in quarantine, our occupancy is 2% due to some long stayers. Other than that, nobody's coming, and we do not estimate for this year that our occupancy will reach more than 10%. So this 10% will be most probably September, October, when will be more flights arriving in Armenia. So restaurants, we have all the restaurants closed. We are looking forward to open our outdoor terrace. This will be a good opportunity. And now we are in an implementation process of new Marriott standards regarding the cleanliness, keeping distance, how we will set up the tables, what is the distance between the tables in order to be safe for the guests and for all the customers who will come to have a lunch or dinner in our terrace. So far, we don't see honestly for this year that the hotels in Armenia will recover, especially in Yerevan. A recovery process might be for the Tsaskadzor hotels, as a lot of Armenians will not travel abroad, they will stay in the country. But from the countryside to have national travels, I don't think we will benefit a lot in Yerevan, as the prices are not very low, like in the countryside, and people will not have money to stay in Yerevan. So for the whole year, our estimation, considering January and February as normal months, we think that the whole occupancy will be 12%. So most of the hotels most probably will run in a loss position. They will not be able to come, not even to the break-even point in none of the future months with such a low occupancy. Based on our calculation, a break-even point will be around 26% occupancy, which will not be the case. So maybe we will prepare ourselves and we'll start to work on the next year as of March to try to create special packages for guests from abroad and to try to attract through the airlines some customers, but so far we don't know the estimation. In Europe, Marriott has most of the hotels closed. And in European Union countries, as we are EBA, most probably the borders will be closed for outside of European Union. So we do not consider too much to have customers from there. Our main market is still Russia and will remain Russia, and hopefully as of end of August, when Aeroflot will start to fly, we might have some customers, and we estimate some small groups to arrive in Yerevan. This will be our saving, let's say, for autumn. Meanwhile, transients, we do not consider too much, more than 1 or 2% to arrive in Armenia, like some transients from Dubai, when the flight Dubai will open, from Qatar, few, as I do not see any option to come from US. So US diaspora will not travel this year for sure. Another challenge which our hotel, and I think the other hotels, Hyatt as well, are facing, the customers who paid in advance, they are requesting refunds as they do not plan to travel even next year to Armenia. So the recovery process will be much longer than any other European Union country. Most probably to reach the level of 2019, which was one of the best years for this hotel, it will last 3 years to recover. So now the most important is to create a special healthy environment for the future customers, and to assure them that will be really very clean and without any infections, any contamination, especially after each departure, and that our staff is healthy. They are going to use all the time mask, gloves, which will be changed after each room cleaning. If there are any questions?
Just any suggestion if you have related to improve, what do you think, what should be done, not only by the government side, like any kind of support, etc., but what can be done in general to support hospitality sector? Any ideas, thoughts?
In general, I think the support should come from a special legislation prepared by local authorities to have a benefit for outsourcing companies. As for the hotels, do not exist any outsourcing companies. For example, us, for the next 2 years, I will never have full staffing. So the best will be whenever the occupancy will be over 40%, to get people only for a respective period of time. So if the government will have a special facility for this type of business, this might be a new area of development for the hotel industry, to have different type of taxation, as they will not be able to pay them permanently. For example, for low season, they will not be able to keep the entire number of housekeepers or waiters. Just to have a special facility to pay minimum level of salary for certain months, and whenever the occupancy is increasing, to have different taxation. So this is what European Union countries have specifically for outsourcing companies. This one. Second, I think promotion of the country will be very important to be done by the government. Marketing, as us as a hotel, we will go to target new markets like Indian markets and Chinese market. So next year our plan is to start Chinese market to attract guests, tourists from there, because the tourists which Armenia had in the past years were over 60 years old people who are not going to travel to Armenia or nowhere as of now for the next 3-4 years. So like from US, from Germany, from Italy. So our target should be the markets who have capacity to bring a lot of business. And these two markets, I can see only the Asian market, not particularly China, like South Korea, Singapore, and India. These are the markets which can save the tourism tourists here. As far as I know, have specific facilities for the visa. So visa can be taken online, of course, after this period of quarantine and disinfection period will pass, they can apply online to get the visa. So this, I think, will be the first option. The other option, hotels needs to do special promotions for Armenian, for diaspora, in order to attract them here and to start to do packages, which till now none of the hotels worked on this option. But I think this will be the best, because then you can convince the customers to use the hotel not only for the rooms, for accommodation, to use as a safe place for dinner and lunch, to give like other countries are selling as a full boarding package.
Okay, thank you, Catalina. Stanisav, it's the same sector, but maybe you have something interesting to add, and also being locked down in Serbia, maybe you will share also briefly their experience. We are now also collecting experience of different countries to use best practice to implement it in Armenia to help business sector. So the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. And Diana, thank you, and to EBA for this great initiative. I think that we should have this as a practice, the period ahead, just to share the experiences and challenges and how we face them and resolve them. I mean, Catalina said a lot about the hotel sector and what we are going through now. I don't know about Serbia if you are interested in some information, but yesterday Serbia declared the cessation of the emergency situation after 2 long months. It was a very tough period, particularly for the pensioners. This means that the quarantine basically worked every day from 5 p.m. until 5 in the morning. Next, the following day, we could not leave the apartments, the houses, while these restrictions for the pensioners were much more stringent, very, very difficult. Last several weekends, people were spending at home. We were a little bit lucky as a family because we have a small pet, small dog. So those people could leave the apartments 2 times a day, once in the morning and the second time at 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., which helps us a little bit to unwind and to forget about the problems, but it didn't help to our dogs, obviously, because they were very upset and telling us, can you stop taking us out? It's too much. What Catalina mentioned, I would like to, if it's okay, to share just quickly 2 slides for this occasion, and let me know if you see them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you
we
see
can
slides.
see. Yeah.
So basically, the statistics are close to accurate. I used 2 different resources. We're talking about 800 hotel business entities, which means hotels, hostels, and guest houses currently operating in Armenia, with a total room inventory of 12.5 thousand rooms. Total revenue was around 30 billion AMD, or $62 million. And last year, we had 1.9 million inbound tourists, which is 15% increase for 2018. I'm sure that Catalina and other hotels, they had similar trend starting from, let's say, 2014. At least in our case, this increase year over year was around 10 to 12%. Not only in occupancy, but in revenue. When I look at our hotel scorecard, of course, I cannot share the exact numbers, but our projections by the end of the year, in comparison to budget and to last year actuals, we are talking about 65% decline in revenues, which is a tremendous amount of money for our hotel. If we use this, I think that in principle, we can apply this percentage value across the board. We are talking about 40 million loss in revenue until the end of the year in the hotel sector only, which is very bad news. The second slide shows you the share of arriving visitors, and you have the ranking which from 2017 and sharing of arriving visitors in 2019. I mean, the percentage values are more or less similar, some decline in a number of tourists coming from the European Union, then from Russia, slight increase. Iran was pretty active last year, and people are mainly diaspora coming from the United States. The second chart shows you the ratio between business and leisure travel, and you can see that leisure travel prevails, which is not the best news. I mean, both charts, particularly if you look at the countries where the people come from, these are almost the epicenters of this pandemic, and this will just complicate the situations in the period ahead. So with this, I will stop sharing the just. Okay, I will not waste the time with this one. I was thinking about this is the hotel sector. We're talking about $40 million, but if you talk about other participants in tourism industry, we can easily triplify this amount, which will be the loss that will account for up to $200 million plus minus until the end of the year only. How the 2021 will look like based on the comments and some information that we received from our headquarters. We look, actually, we are a little bit more optimistic that the recovery close to what we had in 2019 should start second quarter 2021. Currently, Hyatt Place Yerevan is used as a quarantine for the repatriation of the people, I mean, of those people who come back to Armenia during this coronavirus. It's quite challenging, but it helps us to survive. I think that the stress, when you ask about how we position ourselves as a company, the stress is on the people now. How to make sure that at least during the first couple of months that the number of people that we have in our manning, that most of them, all of them take the similar burden of this difficult situation. And Hyatt, Global Hyatt, launched a great initiative, creating Hyatt Care Funds with the participation of executive team as well as the shareholders. The fund is, we collected a lot of money, and of course the hotel in Armenia is part of this program, which helped our staff. Some of them are on unpaid leave now. We have to think about some sort of redundancy in the future, but again, we will, depending on how the business is picking up, we'll look forward to bring some people back, and so that in a year's time we have the whole team gathered together. I think that this is the most critical.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this information. At the end, if there are questions, we will have this then short question answer session. And that's all, Stanisav?
Well, I mean, if I have 2-3 minutes time, when we talk about it's about the economy only. It's not only about the hotel and the hotel sector. I think that the 3 dimensions will be critical for Armenia. The first one is that 30% of the total exports of Armenia is depending on the export of the copper. And the pricing, we see that the pricing of the copper now on the global market goes down by $600. Now the price is $5,700 per metric ton. And last year, which was the best year probably in the last decade in Armenia, the total export was $2.6 billion. So you can imagine the impact. We are talking already about $100 million loss only on the copper export of Armenia, including the gold and some other minerals that Armenia depends on. The second part is, of course, Russia, because 25% of the trade is with Russia. So whatever, any changes in Russia has like meaningful ripple effect on Armenia's economy. Also, we are talking about remittances from Armenian diaspora, which accounts for $2 billion, and half of this coming from Russia only. And also don't forget that the other remittance, annual remittance, which comes from diaspora, accounts for 15% of the GDP of Armenia. This is the second dimension, which can have a serious impact on Armenian economy. And the third one, of course, are the measures that the government, I guess they didn't have other option but to go with it to stop the free visa regime with China, also to close the border with Iran. And the third one is the situation in Russia, of course, which with decline of agricultural export to Russia because of the difficult situation of oil. And as Catalina mentioned, this issue with the flights, which are to be renewed on August, the end of August, hopefully. Okay, but if you allow also one minute, just on the few days ago, I exchanged some SMSs with my friends and then colleagues, but my friends in Armenia. And one of them was pretty much pessimistic. Actually, the impact on his business was quite big. But on a positive note, that happened on the day when we memorized the Armenian genocide. This was the 24th of April. And what I want to say with this is that whatever is happening now, the experience that the generation 105 years ago in Armenia went through, that was the hell on the earth. That was something which cannot be compared to this situation. So we are in a scenario which will last for a couple of months, and I'm sure that we will emerge much stronger after this. So this is we just have to stay positive because this is a global issue. It's not just a local issue. So there are much more worse stuff that can happen to humanity than the current situation. Yes, we are the part of this, but I guess in a year or 2 years, when we get together, that we'll, remember this period with much, how to say, as a school, as a learning process, how we should communicate to each other and how we should work together towards betterness and well-being of everyone. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a very good message at the end that working together, we are more stronger and we can survive. So thank you very much for interesting presentation. Now we are going to the financial sector, and I would like to invite Artashes Tonoyan, CEO of Good Credit, Universal Credit Organization. Artashes, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Well, Diana, thanks for extending this opportunity, and nice to meet everyone. Before I get to the core topic, let me give you a short brief on Good Credit, because I mean, unlike Marriott and Hyatt, we're not that well known and global. Though being owned by a European company with operations in 14 European countries, we are specialist consumer credit providers with a 500 billion balance sheet, consolidated one. In Armenia, our operations are relatively small in terms of the size of the business. Our assets under management are around 15 million euros. But as we are in the micro credit or unsecured consumer lending space, we have pretty big customer base of around 50,000 people. We serve the needs of those people who are sort of unbanked or underbanked for whatever reason is. 70% of the clients we serve are self-employed working in the gray sector. And so having said that, yeah, with the household income below 200,000 drams, which is above the poverty line, but still you wouldn't classify them as a middle income or the people with the stable income or savings. So, and we experienced the hit of the COVID-19 immediately since the emergency on March 16 was announced, for the mere fact because most of our clients are working from payday to payday. You know, the typical would be a waiter in the restaurant or a taxi driver, someone who is employed at a low wage scale in the public service, but he would also ride a Gigi taxi, which is like a Uber of Armenia. Yeah, we've seen like a spike in our default rate. So essentially, from a typical operation point of view, we would have a 10% of the defaults, and end of the March we had around 40%. We put the payment deferral measures as all the banking sector did, and we've seen the spike as well in the in the number of the applications for granting this so-called debt easements or payment deferrals, which essentially you just continue with accruing the interest or without accruing an interest, but you don't classify the person as being in a default stage or being in a delinquent stage. It was also supported politically, and at the same time as everywhere else, the central bank was also in support of banking sector or the lending sector to grant these deferrals to the industry. Either it's legal, whether it's legal entities, consumers, physical entities. The thing is that as a short-term measure, this is kind of a good thing that people who run into liquidity problems, they have been given some sort of a relief. But with this, and you kind of try to reflect onto the midterm and the longer term effect, there is lots of guesswork, because at some point of time these deferral programs or the stimulus will end up. The checks that were given by the government, which is in case of the Armenia, for example, people receive certain subsidies in terms of not paying for the utilities, or certain vulnerable populations were getting some kind of money receipts. These checks will run out, and only after that the banking sector will realize how badly the Armenian consumer was hurt. And I'm afraid that the sector outlook is quite gloomy, because banks and us should be prepared for higher loan losses. Whether some of us will remain on the business, some of us will get out of the business, that's a matter already of shareholder decision. Banks are sort of cushioned a bit, because banks have a more important role in the society, and probably they would be bailed out if they reach the point that they won't be able to serve, for example, the needs of the deposits, or they would kind of continue on embarking on so-called creative accounting, when you would be deferring the factual loss that you should incur, from time to time till some certainty. As I said, and I repeat my kind of statement as I made at the beginning, that there is so much guesswork going on. It's good that I heard the colleagues from the tourism industry that they are looking beyond 2020, and my personal bet would be that we'll get to the full recovery, if ever, at 2021, 2022, and that would be highly sector specific. I doubt that the aviation industry will ever get to the 2019 levels, because we will change most of our habits probably. At least the business travel would be impacted. Firstly, because we see that Zoom served as a good substitute, for doing business meetings. What we also expect that there will be credit crunch. So because of this uncertainty, because of obscured picture of the credit worthiness of the clientele, whether they are physical individuals or the businesses, the banks would be less keen to provide credit. So it's a typical situation when you have a crisis and there is a credit crunch. So and as we see here and globally, that the central banks stepping up their efforts to provide liquidity to the sector. But this liquidity provision doesn't help as long as the economy is in insolvent stage. And I see economy being in an insolvent stage for some kind of a time, because the banks in Armenia are well cushioned. So they have lots of money in their equity side, but there is no money to grant to the real sector. So unless there is some subsidized credit, or government should step up its effort in spending for the next 2 years to create, some sort of aggregate, to stimulate the aggregate demand. Unfortunately, the Armenian government is not deep-pocketed, so we would see the increase of international borrowing, and hopefully, or I'm gladly saying that the IFIs like EBRD, World Bank, IMF are happy, or kind of not happy, but they're ready to release, liquidity to the governments, especially poor countries like Armenia. So they spend and they stimulate the economy by, stimulating the aggregate demand. I guess this is all I kind of wanted to, say, but yes, feel free to ask me questions if you have.
Okay, thank you very much, Artashes. And now I would like to give the floor to the representative of our member ArmSwissBank, Ara Makaryan, Deputy Head of Lending Department, Head of Projects Financing Division. And also by couple words, if you have these statistics, of course, about non-performing loans, what is the situation? I know it's short time, but just interesting, what is the situation in market?
Hello everyone. Thank you, Diana, for invitation to this call and for organizing. I will shortly also describe ArmSwissBank. So our main focus is corporate business. Our bank makes lending in corporate sector, and also we have investment banking direction. I would just describe general picture in the bank and would divide it in two parts actually. The measures bank has taken and how it impacted the bank activity and also situation in our client businesses. First of all, of course, this COVID-19 impacted economic activity, and of course our clients also were impacted in corporate sector by these changes, and actually part of them applied for credit holidays, for repayments, etc., which our bank did. We provided as a solution, short-term solution for our part of our clients. We provided them holidays for repayment. But I have to say that we have also big part in the portfolio that clients are repaying punctually their loans and were not much impacted, and they are very punctual making their repayments. During this situation, our bank also joined state subsidy programs, and within this 1 and 1.5 months, we actually disbursed more than 2 billion AMD loan to our clients for their liquidity needs, which is a big help, assistance for them to survive in this situation. And about lending, we continue to make our lending. Of course, as my colleague mentioned, there is a big uncertainty about the future of different sectors. But we also make very careful analysis, etc. And partly we make financing. We don't stop the financing. This is about business part, and I have to say that there are actually active sectors. For example, energy sector, which we have big part in our portfolio. Projects in this sector are continue. We have applications. Agriculture sector is also became very active because state subsidy programs activated this sector, and there are a lot of applications for investing in agriculture sector, modern agriculture. Yes, and about this NPL, actually, since we have reviewed part of our loan portfolio, their repayments for this 1, 2, 3 months, we provided holiday. There is not big non-performing loans for this short-term period. And I have to say that it is more or less stable. We don't have big problems in portfolio, and as I mentioned, big part of clients, they are making normal repayments, and we don't meet any issues there. How we do this situation, actually part of the bank, I think more or less 50%, they are working from home. This situation also helped for learning to work in distance. Maybe this is a big plus for the future and makes more agile for distant working or distant meetings, etc. This is a good side, we can say, of this situation. And part of staff, they are working from the bank. We actually continue to serve the clients as usual. Bank has taken all the measures of safety, internal the staff and for the clients as well, but we promote actually online services so that clients don't have to come to bank if there is not very urgent need. They can be served also distantly. By the way, I have also to say that we have joined two programs, international programs. One is with KfW Bank, second one we just recently joined. This is the European Investment Bank programs. This is also one of the solutions, because by joining these funds for concrete target sectors, we receive long-term and favorable term resources which would help our clients, because these funds would be channeled for activation, for activating their business. Actually, this is general situation. If there would be questions, I would be glad to.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
This is Vartan from EBRD. You mentioned about the projects in the energy sector. You said you have received some applications. Can you go into more specifically, like what type of projects are we talking about?
Yes, of course. So these applications are related to solar energy sector. As you know, the state has issued more close to 200 megawatt license for solar energy. I mean utility scale projects. Part of them are implemented, but there is a big part which is not started yet. So these applications are related to this sector. And from risk point of view, more or less, this is very predictable and stable direction for lending. So there is a guaranteed purchase for 20 years, which makes lending in this sector low risky, more or less low risky.
Just to follow up on that, if you can specify, like what is the largest amount of, like in terms of megawatts that you have approved recently or you're planning to approve this year? Is it up to 5 megawatt? Is it more than that?
So our bank was active in general in energy sector. Big part of our portfolio. This energy sector is has big share there. We have close to 60 megawatt financed hydro projects, and in solar projects it should be close to 10 megawatts, which we have already financed. But we have one ongoing case which is 5 megawatt. It is in process, and under review we have more than 10 megawatts, which is currently under the review process.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. So the next sector that we're going to get information about is ICT sector in Armenia, and the next speaker is representative of Softline International Armenia, Deputy Director Kristina Mikayelyan.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of our General Manager, Artashes Tonoyan. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us today. I'm going to do my best to present well. Actually, we have a few slides ready. I'm going to try to share my screen. Is it visible? Can you see my screen? Okay. First, I want to introduce ourselves. We are a global company, leading IT company in the market of software, hardware, and training consulting. Our services include end-to-end technology solutions like public, private clouds, software and hardware provisioning, and broad array of associated services. We have been operating in Armenia since 2008, but we are present in the market 25 plus years. And we have offices in more than 50 countries and 95 cities worldwide. Now about the impact of COVID-19 on our sector. I guess the effects of coronavirus spread throughout the world are apparent, and we are no exception here. One thing is for sure that COVID-19 is pushing companies to rapidly digitize and revamp operations. Systems resilience is being tested like never before. The challenges and the constraints faced by organizations as a result of quarantine have changed the demand structure for IT solutions and services. In connection with the transition of about 65% of corporate users to home office format, an urgent modernization of IT infrastructure and security measures were required. It was connected with the mass transfer of employees to remote work, the inability to interact in person and serve customers, and of course, a significant drop in production and sales volumes as a result. According to the World Economic Forum, less than 50% of companies in the world are ready for a full transition to remote work. And of course, the ones that are well equipped with IT tools. I'll also like to share our internal practices for remote work at Softline. We transferred around 3,000 plus employees to remote work in one day. And it was a big task, of course, yet Softline IT services dealt with this professionally and as efficiently as possible. Of course, the first few days, nonetheless, were a challenge. However, a few weeks later, people adapted, systems functioned, and business processes went on as usual. Most of the company's employees used laptops, but many used to work in offices on desktop PCs, and we provided them an opportunity to set up home office with this equipment. And our secure remote access systems allow us to work comfortably from any device without compromising speed, productivity, or security. We have also conducted business continuity exercises and are making sure that our solutions are cost-saving, optimizing business conduct for our clients. In today's market, you need painkillers, not vitamins, to sell and prosper. And we have seen productivity spikes while working from home, thanks to remote tracking tools and management accountability, of course. The solutions that we used before are reliable to make sure we're in touch with our colleagues and keep up with business analytics and reporting. The main tools that we use that are effective for us are Teams, as you can see, CRM, BI, Outlook, Skype for Business, and in some cases, ERP. We are very sad about what's happening in the world now, about so many lives being lost and affected, about so many companies destroyed, and economy as well. However, being in information technology, I can guarantee that this is one of the biggest pushes into digital transformation for businesses all over the world. If you're not digital today, you simply cannot survive as a business. At Softline, we're working closely with businesses to help them mobilize, stabilize, and return to work. And we jumped from being just innovation and transformation vendor to providing operational help. The urgency is here like never before, and our response in this sector should be adequate as well. And at the end, I want to thank you all for your attention and wish you health, patience in these difficult situations, and best of luck. If you need our help in moving to cloud or in digitalization, please let us know. We'll be happy to assist, maybe with our advice, experience, or maybe services. So stay home, stay safe. But before you do that, you need to go cloud and you need to go innovative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kristina. And next speaker is again representative of ICT sector, Deputy CEO of Galaxy Group of Company, Mr. Edgar Karapetyan. So it will be also interesting to hear overview of the ICT sector, what's going on there, and very brief also about information that is running around your organization, also for representatives and our partners from abroad. Very briefly, Edgar, you're here.
Yes, I'm here. And thank you, Diana, for this opportunity, and thanks to EBA. As Diana mentioned, I would like to speak not only about the impact of COVID-19 on telecommunications sector, but also impact of recent developments around UCOM and Galaxy Group, the biggest player in one of the biggest players in this market and in Armenian economy. So in general, main impact of pandemic to the telecommunications market is quite obvious. It refers to income reduction of population, and as a result, issues with collection of service payments, and as well as decline in usage of new services. Though volumes of internet usage during this lockdown period has increased by around 20 to 30%, however, it did not generate additional revenues for operators, since many services and resources made free of charge for this period. And as a result, we expect a recession in telecom market for this year, and probably recover in next year if population income will be recovered. So another impact that will hit telecom sector for upcoming years is termination of UCOM Beeline acquisition negotiations. As you know, it was terminated recently. And this will definitely result in some kind of optimizations in both companies. And in long term, this impact could bring to reduction of investment in telecommunication infrastructure for upcoming 2 to 3 years. As you know, as also Diana mentioned, there are some developments around UCOM and Galaxy Group in general that may have also impact on overall investment climate of Armenia. And here we want to be fully transparent and open to discuss these developments. We believe that only fully transparent and open discussions could bring kind of immunity for business community to this kind of interventions. As you know, this development around UCOM has started as a corporate conflict. The reason was the possible reduction of shares of minority shareholders after UCOM Beeline acquisition. And minority shareholders also was the executives of the company. And after these possible developments raised, CEO of UCOM, one of the shareholders also the company, has resigned, followed by resignation of top management and mainly technical staff. So we started negotiations for resolving the conflict, which at the end has grown to something bigger than expected. But very quickly we understood that this is well organized and orchestrated actions. This became obvious when we got some obstacles in our efforts to resolve this corporate conflict, which was created by different authorities. And You probably heard UCOM's chairman's statement in terms of these allegations, and I don't want to voice additional details. More information will be available soon. And again, I would like to mention that we will continue being very transparent and will present all the process and developments evidently. Going back to impact of on ICT sector, I would like to mention that these all developments are happening in a time when a state of emergency has been declared in the country, and because of global pandemic. And the significant portion of our companies, all of our country's economy and our companies have been hit negatively by these developments. As I mentioned, I would be very short, and this is like kind of general introduction. Hopefully, and we are confident that this situation will be resolved without any damage to our country's investment and business climate. At the end, I would like to thank you for the business, to say thank you to business community and the international local organizations for their support during these hardships and these developments. So I'm ready to answer any questions. Please ask any questions. I will be answering very freely and openly.
But before going to question answer session, I would like to declare that EBA is fully apolitical. We are a non-government organization, and we're kind of platform. We're organizing public-private dialogue platform where we representative of interests of business. So, and our main objective is to create a good business environment to protect, to lobby for better investment climate in Armenia. And I think altogether we will do our best to improve the whole business environment in Armenia. If there are questions, please, you're welcome. Who is the first? No. No questions?
I have one question for Edgar in regards to UCOM offers. Now they are going to keep the current clients. We are one of the biggest clients of UCOM. What will happen after all this reorganization? They are going to change the prices. They are going to give a special discount to keep the customers. What is the strategy for the future?
So currently, the new management have been appointed to UCOM, and the management is recovering the control over the company and starting doing necessary actions in this pandemic situation to bring business in the normal. Currently, no any changes expected to the tariff plans, and no changes expected for the upcoming months. As I mentioned, we are looking in development of the situation in terms of pandemic and the quarantine, and after the more clarity will be in the economic situations, the more information we can present to our customers in terms of services.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you everybody for joining this online conference. It was the first actually among our members, and next week we will have one more regional. You all will be invited. So keep in touch, stay safe, and stay positive, please.
Thank you, you too. Good idea.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.